Hello, everyone. My name is Heike Vargas, and I'm doing the NASC Origin interview of constellations in North America pre-2005, including Mexico. And I have Ingala on the other line here, and we're conducting an interview. Hi there. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. Many warm regards from Mexico.
Thank you for participating. When did you first learn about constellations?
Well, that was during a Congress in Cancun in 1993. And I had a dinner with a colleague, German colleague, who was also a systemic family therapist, because I'm first a systemic family therapist, and he was a core energetic therapist, which I also studied during 6 years. So we had a lot in common, and I hadn't talked with anybody about the scene in, well, the therapeutic scene in Mexico and in Germany. And Lorenz Wiest, my colleague, asked me about Mexico, so I answered him. And then I asked about Germany, and he said, oh, there's this underground movement, you know, from Bert Hellinger, a man from Bert Hellinger, and in that time also his wife, Hertha. And people are queuing up to make family constellations. I said, what's that, you know? Is it like Virginia Satir? Because Virginia Satir I met in Stanford, and she made family, it has another name, you know, where you can move around and so. And he said, no, it's different because you don't express. It's not like theater, or it's not like expressing so much. It's in this respect more, I don't know, pure, you know, just the place where the people are and so. And he explained it to me, and really I didn't understand anything. I had already been a systemic family therapist for 10 years, and I really didn't understand how the people would move, and the representatives, and is it theater? No, it is not. It all comes out from the field. And so I was very curious. So I asked him to send me some literature and so. And he was a friend, direct friend. His family, you know, was a direct friend of Bert and Hertha. And Bert sent me loose leaves, you know, in an entire, you know, envelope this high of his book, Orders of Love. So there were little drawings and explications, and I still couldn't get it right, you know, because, you know, you have to see and be in a constellation or in a workshop to really get it, you know, and one gets it so fast, you know. And that is when I asked him to come to Mexico again and give a workshop. And I had a friend, another German, Ilse, and we did this joint venture and asked people, and he gave the first workshop. And, you know, it was like, it hit me, you know, it's everything that I had known about about systemic family therapy, and where I had felt a limit, a certain kind of a limit, you know, all of a sudden opened up. So I immediately felt, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to learn, this is what opens up the new dimensions. That was our beginning.
Great, thank you. That sounds really interesting, and it explains it well. Got to try it out in order to understand it and really feel it, right?
Yes.
So what drew you personally into the work and made it a passion for you?
Well, you know, I had done so many trainings, you know, transpersonal trainings, Claudio Naranjo, and with Dr. John Piracos, the core energetic works. And I thought, you know, it's such a mixture, and and it felt so eclectic, you know, like, what am I going to do with it? And then I went into systemic family therapy, and that was already like an umbrella, you know. It includes lots of the things I had been training, and family constellations. Just it hit me like a hammer, I must say. And I saw the possibilities to go much further in the work, you know, because in systemic family therapy you do include include the grandparents, you know, but in a different way. And here we include, we include the excluded, you know, we make them present, you know, and grandparents. And what I've seen, especially great-grandparents, you know, what happened to great-grandparents is really coming up like symptoms in great-grandchildren. And it is such an opportunity, you know, to work with the ancestors and work at the same time with their descendants. So it is as if past, present, and future, you know, like Albert Einstein said, they all meet in one point, you know, and that is really fascinating what we are doing.
Yeah. Wow. That is so true. Thank you. Who were your systemic constellation teachers and colleagues?
Well, first of all, Lorenz Wiest, who was our, I founded an institute, you know, the Instituto Sorvello, which is a Celtic rune. You can look it up. It means plenitude, health, sun, you know, your full development as a human being. And we invited him over as our main international teacher. And then I had this incredible opportunity to invite Bert Hellinger in the year 2000, you know. And then we had already made a kind of impact, you know. I learned practically most of it from Lorenz. Then came Bert in 2000 and in 2001. First we had something like 380 people. And then the second time there were already 600, you know. It was a growing movement. Everybody was talking about it, you know. And then as an institute, I started to invite teachers. And in Gunther Weber, I learned a lot about him. I feel like I work quite a lot like him. When I was at a congress with him in Slovenia and saw him working, I said, oh, I mean, it's pretty much my style, you know. And Marianne Franke, you know, about systemic education. We have quite a program with that. So we started to offer formations, I mean, trainings for people, and invited international guests. And further on, we invited Jan Jakob Stam and Anton de Kroon for organizational. Stefan Hausner came. And for trauma, obviously, our beloved teacher, Angwin Singh Just, where so every time I invited somebody, I learned. So I'm very grateful because I didn't have to travel so much. And then I still traveled. I mean, I was a fan of Bert Hellinger, and I went to lots of his workshops abroad also, you know. So it was all the time teaching, learning, teaching, learning, teaching, learning.
That's how we go in life, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. What participation did you have in the early history pre-2005 of constellations in North and South America?
Well, I was invited. I think I participated 3 times in conferences in the United States, which was very interesting because there is a difference between North America, United States, and, well, geographically, Mexico belongs to North America also, but not politically. So in Mexico, it's so much family, you know. Family is, religion and family are the first, take the first places. And family in the United States, not so much. So I've seen that there are lots of participation more in the spiritual field and less systemic, let's say. So I'm a good teacher. I like teaching. I learned it at my university. I learned teaching over there, didactics, etc. And I taught a little bit more about the systemic work over there. And it made things like clearer, I think, to people, that it's not only magic, because obviously Bert Hellinger was a magician. You know, he was a shaman also, he was a wise man, you know. And well, he was 70 when he started internationally, you know, and you don't have to forget it. And so I think my teaching is like, makes it easier to comprehend that Bert Hellinger is an old fox, you know. He knew so much, he had so many trainings, but he never talked about it. And when I accompanied him, I said, that's systemic, that's Milton Erickson, that is this and this, you know. And like I have a capacity of like putting it into little pieces so that you can follow it. And I always say it's like learning to play music, you know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And so get the instruments, get the know-how, get the theory, and so, and then you can go and play the way you want to play, and to help people connect with their creativity and then find their own style.
Great insight. Thank you. I like the connection with the music. That makes sense. When did you start facilitating?
Right away, right away, because I felt very secure, you know, with all the trainings I had, and especially with my master degree in systemic family and couple therapy. I felt really very secure being able to do this work. And then I was also trying to, you know, I'm very enthusiastic most of the time to keep it low profile and make more didactic pieces or work at the beginning, you know, like the order in the family and so. And I think I went from more simple work, I mean, more in the order, you know, the three principles of the constellation work: order, belonging to a system, and the equilibrium, the balance between giving and taking. And so I started to work with that because that is very obvious to people, and it helps families a lot, even just to put order, you know, in a family, but order in a way of putting, showing them what is their place, you know, like mother and father were not always mother and father, you know, they were a romantic couple before. So the romantic couple is in the first place, which most parents forget, you know. And so the parents were first, you know, and it doesn't give rights really or over the children, but it's an order, natural order. And then the firstborn, the secondborn, and so on, and that the father really gives each of the children their good place. If you're number 12 or if you're number 3 or number 1. And for families, I feel that is very important. So I try to go from, well, simple, I say like this, to more complex things. And then the most complex thing I work is dealing with what is inside the constellation work, life and death. Or there are always life and death questions. You know, I once had a woman who wanted to better her score in golf, and the group said, "Oh, what is this?" You know, and she couldn't do better because her brother, who had also played golf, you know, and was a very good golf player, had died. So it's even with getting better at golf, there is a question of life and death. Do I feel like I can live my life completely because my brother died so early? So then I think we are really in the core work of family constellations. This pull or will, this willingness, where some energy, pushes you, pulls you unconsciously towards people we love and who have gone before, or who want also like this unconsciously to follow other people who have gone before. So I think this is the dimension, and you always do some good, even our beginners.
Yeah. Thank you. That's great. Perfect. Have you trained students?
Well, I opened the institute and right away, I don't know, we have thousands already in our groups. The training takes 2 years, and we did something which is very exceptional. And we are not the only one. There are 2 or 3 more institutes. We got the acceptance of the Ministry of Education to offer it as a master degree, also 2 years. So we have the training for psychotherapists and people who want a sociologist, doctors, lawyers, accountants. We have engineers, housewives for the personal training, and when you do the 2 works, most of them want to work with other people. Like Bert Hellinger said, when they said, who can learn about constellation works? He said, any person who wants to work with persons. Mm-hmm. So I think this is so beautiful, because teachers, there are so many people who work with people and who can then have a very good background and have a much wider vision about the origins of people's malaise, of their symptoms, sicknesses, and difficulties and obstacles in their lives. No?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. So what are your main points you're trying to teach your students?
Well, systemic thinking in the first place. Mm-hmm. I got in touch with systemic thinking in 1980 during my career study of sociology, at the university, the public university in Mexico City, which is the best in Latin America. I'm always very proud. And the teacher introduced us to systemic thinking. And it is theory, and it had an incredible impact on me because I was educated in Germany, and it was, like inside the box thinking and teaching. And systemic thinking opened my mind, and I think I felt really free for the first time, and I want people, like your mind explodes all of a sudden. I feel. Well, that was my personal experience. And I want the people, the students, and all adults, obviously, I want to have them to have this experience, to open their minds up and think out of the box and become more creative. Our teachers, we have 35 teachers in the Institute, and we are a group of administrative team of 17 people, so we are quite an institute. I want them, what I was saying, that they are writing books, they are starting to paint, and they are doing lots of creative stuff, So I feel that is like a byproduct, Mm-hmm. And it makes me very happy that this new dimension, new options, new visions, you know, of which you get with systemic thinking, and the side effect of being so creative and being really, they become happier, they become, I think, prettier, you know, more handsome, you know, and now during this health situation, you know, their feedback was that with the family constellations, they could manage this situation much better. So I think it prepares you better for life. And you know, I'm a post-war child, and I remember so many ghastly things, you know, during that time, during my childhood. And the wanting to, I mean, I remember that the radio was always on and people who were missing. You know, so what my work is doing is somehow people unite again, you know, because there are children where the father or the mother has had a child before marriage and so, and then they don't see him or her, and with the constellation work they want to see him or her, and they find them in the most astonishing ways, you know. So union, to unite, that's what was separated, you know. And then reconciliation, you know, because Europe in those times was really, it was very difficult to live in. And then it started and one could go to Denmark. I was living in Hamburg. My mother is from Hamburg in the north of Germany. And then you could go to Holland and you could go to other places. So it was always, it was beginning to Europe was beginning to find reconciliation. And that is one of my most important, you know, wishes, this reconciliation. And the third one is peace, you know. I mean, I've seen the aftermath of the war, and it is really, you know, it's such a deep, deep longing. Oh, I get all emotional, sorry, that we have peace, you know. So I think the family constellation is really, for me, it has this message and it has this mission, you know, personal. For other people it might be different, but for me it is mostly this, you know, peace. Like we say, peace, pax domus, pax mundis, peace at home, peace in the world. So let's try to do it small in our home, in our family, and then something big might happen someday. That is my prayer.
Thank you. Yes, create a ripple effect. And I'm very aware of the aftermath of war. I'm very aware of the in-the-box thinking and how it feels like when we have the possibility to come out of that box and create from a completely different connection to self. So I honor and respect you for doing this. This is awesome. Thank you. What are your gems of wisdom from your work with constellation? You already talked about some of them. Are there any additional ones that come to mind right now?
Well, I myself, I have become more simple in a good way, you know. I was too complicated after the war and after trying to heal myself with all the trainings I took, you know, and like being a little bit more within myself, you know. And that is, I think, a good feeling, you know, at this state of my life. And I don't know, I didn't know I had it, you know, a sense of humor. I think when I started to put down those loads, you know, we put down during the family constellations, because I made many constellations with Bert, you know, he took me as a representative, and I was always stunned what I learned over there, you know. I said, oh, it hit me. I said, oh, I hadn't seen this in my life, you know. And so these new views, also more compassion, you know, the sense of humor that I think that came up because the loads were down, you know, and then humility also, you know, like I thought my life had been so terrible at the beginning, you know, and then I hear so many things in other families, and I honor them, you know, because so many things happen in two terrible things in so many families. So humility, I think, and a big sense of connection. And during this difficult time of the sanitary crisis, I really, my work was trying to connect people. When we are connected, I feel when we are connected, then and united somehow, no? But connected is different because we don't have to be of the same opinion. Yep. But being connected, it gives us such a strength. And I give social constellations every 2 months or so. And quite a crowd comes up. and I do work and encourage people to connect. You know, this is my big issue nowadays. Let's connect as human beings. Let's connect from the heart. Let us connect from our souls, because in family constellations we work with the soul, no? And I've taken this now as, I don't know, like my work, you know, and encourage people to build small groups, you know, online or in future again more present, and to go to people, for example, all the elderly people, you know, they were so alone, you know, and youngsters, they didn't know what to do, and they didn't want to go to school online, you know, and let's make a big connected field, you know. And my vision is the planet and all the connections between all of us, like protecting our planet, which I love. I don't want to go to the moon. I want to be here. I think it's such a wonderful planet. I'm very thankful. No, and another thing is really being grateful about, more grateful. You know, this every day is incredible. Really, I learn so much. You know. And human beings are really wonderful. I feel that we are incredible when I hear music, or when I see dancing, or when I look at museums, you know, at the moment online. So I say, we have done so much, so let's keep it up. Let's keep it up.
That wants me to work with you on your network. That would be great. Are there any variations that you prefer personally in constellation?
Well, in systemic therapy work, you know, you learn that in one type or one model for each problem, for every problem, for every different problem. No? So I'm very happy to have had so many teachers and have learned so much, you know, and it came all at the right time, you know. At that time, I didn't know it, but now looking backwards, I knew it. So I feel that I can work very diversely, with many variations of constellation work. You know, like the work of the soul, the work of the guides, and the systemic work, the phenomenological work, and then sometimes very didactic work, you know. So I'm never getting bored, you know, because I just let myself feel, and then something comes up, and sometimes it's really educational, you know, and sometimes it just something happens, I don't know, and I feel my great teacher, Bert Hellinger, and Lawrence is with me, and I'm so grateful that my friend Ilse opened up to my suggestion that let's do it, the first workshop. And then I went on by myself, and I'm always grateful to all of them who accompanied me and in this way, in this path.
Yeah. Great, thank you. How do you see constellations evolving in the future?
Well, my wish is every person one constellation, that people really feel like they are doing now, because lately there has been a boom. I think because of the isolation, because of all the problems that arose, because here in Mexico, we made it fairly strict, people were a lot afraid. And then many people died who had, who were not well nourished,
Mhm.
and people who had former sicknesses. So this caused a wave of anxiety, really anxiety. People were, I think many died because they were afraid, and so many things popped up and so many topics, people are really traumatized. So that I think we should really open up, and we are creating workshops for anxiety, for traumas, and because we had also in September, the month of the earth moving in Mexico, the earthquakes, and it happened again. So people here in this country are quite anxious, especially in this city, Mexico City, and that we should really accompany them with all the instrument and resources we have, and especially with trauma work,
Mhm.
and I think it will be for many people a company, and not any longer daily, like with Sigmund Freud, or a weekly session, but something that accompanies them in the moment when they don't remember that they have so many resources and they are stuck. And this will bring constellation, I think, constellation work into every household, in a very good way. And it will get more connections, like with the nature work and ecological work. And I see that it spreads out, and I'm very happy about it, and to have been or being part of it,
Mhm.
because our school is really teaching a lot, and we have an impact on people. And as we are systemically based, which is fairly academic, people have trust and confidence. So that is more important. That is important. And then everybody does, is creative and explores new and different ways also, which I love.
Yes, you're really speaking and bringing a huge part to your community and our community here as well, with your wisdom and your insights and what you created. It's amazing. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I love to participate in the workshops or the conferences in the United States, and I love their work when they are going into the spiritual part.
Mhm.
And I would say we have to go to the origins, and in Mexico we have to go to the origins of the conquest, and the history. Well, I've lived practically all my life here. I feel very connected to Mexico, and we have to go to the origins. And I would suggest that in the work in the United States, like we do here in Mexico, go to our origins, also include it more, because then when the roots are healthy, then the branches can spread out,
Yeah.
and then we can perhaps connect better between the two countries or the three countries, because we are including Canada now. And I think we can do an incredible job between the three countries and have a great impact. and I think it will be for the better of humanity, really.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of this interview, and we will share that with a lot of people and spread the
Sure.
message even more. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.